I've dreamed about sailing the world for years, but it took until my mid-30s to finally save up enough to buy a boat of my own and really begin learning the ropes. This boat is older than me, and she's always one of the smallest in the anchorage. But she has the potential to take me anywhere in the world safely. And honestly, knowing that is a huge relief. Because I'll be the first to admit that sailing doesn't come naturally to me. It's difficult, and there are no luxuries on a 27-foot, 45-year-old boat. My partner, Anchal, who will join me on some of this journey, will attest to that. But the reward is seeing the world in a different light, to meet people who have an important story to tell. I'm not interested in beaches and bars, but rather the chance to see how our planet is changing rapidly in front of us.
Good morning to you. Now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 0505 on Thursday 30th of May. There are warnings of gales in the 40s.
And that's why we're heading south across the English Channel, dodging cargo ships on a double-reefed mainsail amid 30-knot winds. All with the aim of heading to that island over there on the horizon, Alderney, now in sight after 14 hours on the sea. During the Second World War, Hitler's Germany occupied Alderney, and on it they constructed 4 prisoner camps, including the only concentration camps built on the British Isles, along with dozens of fortifications. Victims from around the world were shipped to this island, and thousands are believed to have been killed while being forced to work. Some were worked to death by their captors at places like the huge anti-tank wall on Longy Beach. Others were simply thrown off Alderney's jagged cliffs when they were deemed of no more use to the Germans. And some even met their fate by being executed by firing squad. And if you know where to look, the evidence of that horror can still be found, such as impact marks from bullets used to execute prisoners, hidden away behind gas bottles and wooden pallets, unmarked, virtually going unknown. In fact, walking around Alderney, it's clear that what happened here is slowly eroding from view. And that's despite the weather-beaten World War II concrete fortifications that still hold on. Yet, possibly the only place that still really shows the extent of what happened on Alderney is actually underground. Under the beaches, hills and craggy rocks are a labyrinth of tunnels that remain largely unchanged since they were built by slave labour in the 1940s. It's like a whole different world to what's above. It's cold, dark and ominous. Incredibly, German writing even remains on the walls. People on Alderney aren't ignoring what happened here. There is acknowledgement of the atrocities that occurred. But as always with the passage of time, past atrocities tend to be forgotten as they reduce in the rear-view mirror. And that's only amplified when survivors and their memories become victims of the passage of time too. And so now you can walk through Alderney's meadows where bodies of victims still lie, unmarked and unnamed, just beneath your feet. And Silt concentration camp, where so much horror took place, sits quietly beside the airport, with just a small plaque and a couple of concrete posts marking the terror that occurred there. Which is why personal accounts of the past are so important. While concrete crumbles and nature reclaims the land, words can have some needed permanence. And that's what we went looking for. Someone whose words mean far more than mine.
My name is Gary Font. I am the son of Francisco Font, a forced worker in Jersey and a slave worker in Alderney. My father describes going to Alderney. It was the first time his heart fell into his boots. It was an extremely traumatic experience, not only for him, but for the thousands that passed through Alderney. Yeah, it stayed with him for the rest of his life. It was run by the SS, and that means there would have been deprivation, hunger. It would have been cold, it would have been tired, working long hours, and it would have been a brutal experience for all of those who would have experienced that time. He witnessed an execution of a young Soviet boy, and he'd witnessed and seen the hanging of another Soviet in Silt camp. They are now trying to collate, after 80 years, names of those individuals who were sent to Alderney and those who may still remain. And if there are bodies there, surely we must try to find out if there are, and find out how many there are. Now, the fortifications will remain there forevermore. I can't see them ever disappearing. People's attitudes, however, will change. What I don't want to happen is for this now to just be sort of swept under the carpet and to be forgotten. These people have to be recognised, and there must be names put to them as best as possible, and maybe a fitting memorial to them. Remembering those you never made at home is really important.
Alderney is a dramatically beautiful place with a horrendous past. But as we left the Channel Islands behind and set off towards France, there's some comfort in knowing that individuals like Gary are fighting to ensure that the island's history and its victims are not forgotten, especially those that never made it home.